and I have been saying this since then, Tesla is the next Tesla. We are at the very beginning. We're at around $200, $250 a share. We're heading to $10,000 a share.
I'm here with Warren in Bangkok. Life has changed so much since the last time we saw you. Sawadee krap, yes. His Thai competency has went from 0 to...
0 to 2.
0 to 2, yeah?
Out of 100.
Solid. So it's getting much better already. Huge milestone in your life. Congratulations again on your proposal.
We're hiding my wife behind the camera. Yes.
We're here in Bangkok today because it's been a very eventful month for the Tesla investor community. We had a We Robot event in LA, and just this morning for us in Asia time, we had a Q3 Tesla earnings report. And as you're recording this in half an hour, the market's going to open, and even the pre-market right now is strong.
240,
so,
I think it's up to 240.
240. So I want to step back and break it down and just hear from Warren. What is your impression and key takeaway from this quarter's earnings call?
So first thing is the profit was unexpected. The gross margin was higher, the profits were higher, the cost of goods sold was lower, and the cash flow was very positive. So I think they went up like $3 billion in added net cash. So that's not something that I tend to worry about. I tend to be more interested in long-term things. But the short-termers saw that and, more profit, more cash flow. So most people are expecting a big bump in the stock price in the short run. The big things I took away, I think the biggest thing I took away from the call was there was this talk that version 13 would be 6x better. But they didn't say better than what. And today in the earnings call, they said better than 12.5. I thought they might have said 6x better than version 12 or version 11. I thought, they were saying 12.5 is 3x better than something. When they said that 13 was going to be 6x better, what did they mean? And they actually said 6x better in critical interventions, miles per critical intervention, compared to 12.5, which is already very good.
Very.
And they were talking about how it's becoming difficult to get data to improve FSD because there's so few problems that you have to have a massive amount of miles of data to find the problems. That you have to decide, well, what needs to be fixed? And then you don't have enough data to say, you try 2 different models in the cars.
Yes.
And then you have to decide, well, which one worked better, and it's hard to tell because they don't fail that much. So that's a huge challenge going forward, but it seems like they're confident they're making enough progress. And then I think they said another order of magnitude by maybe middle of next year, by the end of the year.
Okay, that's very soon, so that's 2 more months away.
So an order of magnitude is like 10x better. So they're making a lot of, like the biggest thing for me is, are they developing real world AI? Are they making progress on real world AI?
Yeah.
Optimus at the We Robot event was much better than I expected. And the progress on FSD has been very, very good. So that's the long-term things that I'm really excited about. And also Tesla Energy, we knew the deliveries weren't as high in terms of storage deployed, but the revenue was high and the gross margin on energy was like 30%.
30%, highest ever. It went from 25 to 30% quarter and quarter.
In the earnings call, they predicted soon, I don't think they said when, Shanghai Mega Factory starts in the first quarter of next year. Shanghai will probably ramp fast.
Agree.
So probably by the end of next year, they will be at an 80 gigawatt hour run rate between Lathrop and Shanghai, and soon it'll be at a 100 gigawatt hour run rate. And if you do the math on how much revenue that is, it's a lot of money. And they talked about going
high margin money. That's even more critical.
Well, and there's a detail about Tesla Energy that I think people don't appreciate, about Megapack in particular, and Powerwall, but more so Megapack. They said, multiple terawatt hours per year down the road. As you bring the price of Megapack down, the return on investment goes up a lot. So for business customers who are thinking about buying Megapack, one of the principal values is time shifting. They charge it when energy is cheap, and they use the energy when energy is expensive, so they're saving money on the difference between off-peak energy and peak energy. But as you bring the price of Megapack down, because lithium iron phosphate cells are getting expensive and your manufacturing cost goes down, manufacturing costs in Shanghai will probably be lower than manufacturing costs in California. The buyer now is getting, and I think that advantage of the time shifting is probably going to grow over time, the value of that. So you've got declining price of the product, increasing value. I think the market for Megapack is just going to be incredibly huge. So that's why multiple terawatt hours. And if you just take 1 terawatt hour at $200 a megawatt, $200 a kilowatt hour, you're talking about $200 billion in revenue. Tesla's revenue last year was $93 billion. So Megapack is going to be a larger business within 5 years than all of Tesla is now.
What's crazy is everyone knows energy will grow. They don't see the magnitude to which it will grow.
Right. So
And
yeah.
you talk about the cost going down, the value going up. We see that in the core automotive business,
Yeah.
where Tesla has brought Model 3, Model Y costs down significantly.
Yeah.
A big part of it, raw material, battery costs have gone down.
Yeah.
And here in the t-shirt, turning the impossible into late, which Elon Musk said, we're now seeing autonomy really coming into more full force. Like FSD 12.5 was responsible for more than half of the total cumulative FSD miles.
Yeah.
And next year is a big milestone year for the global rollout of autonomy.
Right.
And even just using robotaxis in Texas and California.
Well, actually, one of the big things that I picked up from the call that I was surprised by
Yeah.
was they're already running a robotaxi service in the Bay Area of California
Yes.
for employees with a safety driver, a safety person, a person in the driver's seat, but FSD is up. So they're already running the software. The robotaxi, the calling for a ride,
Yeah.
the vehicle side software, it's already running. They have already built an Uber competitor, a competitor to Uber and Grab. It's already operating. It's just now they need to get licensing to operate it in California, and they need to get, what did they say? They said they expected to get to safer than human by middle of next year.
Yes.
And once they're safer than human, they're going to start operating the robotaxi network in probably Texas first and California second, from what they said in the earnings call.
Yes. And once people believe that it's safer than humans, then governments would have a responsibility in order to roll out robotaxis, not because they like or don't like Tesla, but just because it's the right thing to do to save people's lives.
And I think China will adopt fast.
Yes.
China will say yes fast. Texas will say yes fast. Florida will say yes fast. Some states in the United States will resist. California will be okay, but New York and Michigan, and maybe it's Elon man bad or whatever, there'll be some reasons to resist. But the biggest thing is when you operate in Orlando, Florida, and this is something that like non-Americans might not know. Las Vegas, Nevada, and Orlando, Florida are two of the most popular tourist destinations, and especially for conventions. Local government officials go to these places for big events, and then they go home. Well, if they go and they experience robotaxis in boring tunnels in Las Vegas, and robotaxis in Orlando, and they go to Disney World, and all of a sudden everything is a lot easier and a lot cheaper, and they get home to their home airport and they have to get a taxi home, why don't I have a robotaxi?
Great contrast.
And
Really
it's
smart.
This is a very cynical view on my part about American government officials. I'm not picking on other countries, but if you tell them this is good for your constituents, for the people you represent, they don't care. If it's going to make their own lives better, then they care. And I think that is going to be a game changer. That will drive FSD and robotaxi all over the country and eventually all over the world.
There is so much positive sentiment right now. As long-term investors,
Yeah.
is there anything that we should approach in a more critical mind, a more skeptical mind, just to be honest and hold Tesla's growth accountable?
Well, my biggest concern is we have an election coming up in 2 weeks,
Yes.
and one of the candidates mostly supports Elon.
Yeah.
Sometimes he says things that we don't like about electric vehicles or solar or whatever, but he mostly supports Elon, Trump. And the other candidate, in my opinion, wants to arrest Elon. So if the Democrats win the election, I think there's a significant risk that they will arrest Elon, that they will punish his businesses. And I've always said this, for years I've said this, the greatest threat to Tesla, the greatest threat to humanity is government. Government has always been government killed like 200 million people in the 20th century. Governments, the Germans, whatever, all these governments, there's all these wars. The greatest threat to the advancement of humanity is government. Not your government, my government. So that's my biggest concern. And then, it's possible that FSD won't work.
Yeah.
I don't think it's very likely that it won't work. I think if you follow the development of AI, if you watch the AlphaGo documentary, you just see that I would use the word inexorable. It's just getting better and better and better, and they're throwing more compute at it, they're getting more data. You can tell they're going to solve it.
That's right.
If you don't understand AI, because if you look at the critics, they don't really understand AI. Andre Karpathy says more data, more compute.
Yeah.
And he still believes that. And he doesn't even work at Tesla anymore. It's basically a solved problem. It's just you need more data and you need more compute. Well, no one generates more data than Tesla.
Correct. 7 million cars on the road. In Giga Texas, they just put a fork in the road because they're building a large supercomputer cluster there that is training this real world data.
But I do think that this is something that a lot of investors don't see. I think Tesla made a decision, and I think we see it here in Thailand and Malaysia, and I'm not sure about Singapore, but Japan. They really don't push selling cars as much here as I would. If you go around Thailand, there's probably 40 BYD locations, and there's basically one Tesla location.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a pop-up, like small thing in Siam Paragon.
Yes.
But there's one main location in Ramkhamhaeng. BYD has 40 locations. BYD is trying to sell cars. Tesla has figured out we're not going to sell that many cars to make a difference in Thailand. And if we invest CapEx in building out all these sales locations, that's CapEx that's money we don't have to put into AI. They're not building out Giga Mexico because they decided to put their CapEx into their capital investment into AI. So I think they're really putting a lot of capital investment into getting the AI problem solved. Because once you solve the AI problem and you turn that switch and the Robotaxi network goes live and you don't have a driver in the car anymore, which might be by the end of next year. Like by the end of 2025, there could be a Robotaxi network operating in Texas and California with no humans in the car. That drives the cost per mile, not the price per mile, but the cost to the owner per mile down to like 20 cents a mile.
Amazing.
And if you do that and you sell rides for $1 a mile, which in the short run they'll have to sell rides for $2 a mile because the demand would be too high, the revenue generation and profit generation and cash flow generated by just having even a small Robotaxi network, once it's up and it's running and you've effectively solved it, now you don't have to put as much CapEx into AI. You probably still will because you want to solve Optimus. But now it's like, okay, now we need to build factories to build cybercabs. And that's the other thing that Elon said. I think there's something about cybercab where the ramp will be shorter.
Yes, he mentioned 2 million full production by 2026 per year.
I don't think that's what he said, volume production by 2026.
Okay.
I don't think he necessarily meant full ramp.
Okay.
But it sounded like, we know it's a small factory footprint. I do think that they have really worked out what this factory is going to look like, and they're going to build more than one. They said more than one. So, and I think they already have it built in Giga Texas, and they're just tinkering with it. That was, at the We Robot thing, they had 20 cars. Who builds 20 prototypes? You never see somebody build 20 prototypes.
That's right.
Working prototypes that are actually taking people. I've never seen that before.
And as Elon Musk always mentions, prototypes are easy, production's hard.
Manufacturing is hard, yeah.
And one of Tesla's superpower is not just the machine, but the machine that makes the machine. Whether it's on Tesla, whether it's in SpaceX and Star Factory producing Starship and boosters. One last question. There are many young people who are very inspired by Tesla. They are young students and they're starting to invest for the first time. They're wondering, Warren, is it too late to join the Tesla journey? What's your advice?
So, a lot of people for the last few years, since 2020 when Tesla really went up, they've been searching for the next Tesla. So Rivian is the next Tesla, Lucid Motors is the next Tesla, Aptera is the next Tesla, NIO, BYD, and I have been saying this since then. Tesla is the next Tesla. We are at the very beginning. We're at around $200, $250 a share. We're heading to $10,000 a share. My advice though would be, don't just rely on investing in stock, invest in yourself. Learn how you can be useful, learn how you can be productive, learn how you can understand a field where you can really be a big deal. And then if you're successful with investing in Tesla and you have a pile of money, what business can you build?
Love that. Love that message, Warren. Thank you so much. Great seeing you here again in Bangkok.
Awesome.
So much has gone on in our lives, in our world. I'm very optimistic. There will be many ups and downs in our journey. If you found this video useful, please click the like button. You can follow Warren on X and hit subscribe to stay updated to more videos on Tesla. Signing off from Bangkok, and thank you so much to our friend Chris for filming today's video.
You're welcome.